Welcome back. It's Melanie or She Shed Scrapper. So today I am back with a 2-page layout using Print Shop by Vicki Boutin. This is one of the layouts that I sketched out ahead of time on my How I've Become More Productive video that was released at the beginning of the week. So if you haven't seen that, definitely check that out. It kind of shows you my process each month of how I prepare and how that's allowed me to be more productive. So I used this Lego cut file from Paige Evans, and I did back it off camera because it takes quite a while and kind of tedious, not my favorite thing to do whatsoever. If you've been around, you know that I have a love-hate relationship with cut files. So I did do that off camera, and in doing so, I accidentally ripped a couple of the pieces off, but I can tape them kind of back together using or keeping it in that wreath. So I decided to bring in kind of that aqua paper for the background. And I am actually going to be using this pink kind of colorful paper for an extra layer in the background as well, I guess. So what you see there is kind of how I want it. And on page 1, I don't want it to go all the way across the page, but on page 2, that teal paper is going to go all the way across the page. And so I got away with just a couple of strips of that pink paper. And it made it look like it was all layered. So once I got that all taped down, I am going to kind of skip ahead. I did back all of my photos, or all of the small photos, in the one photo that's going to be on page 2. And then commit to the Lego wreath here. You can see I cut a couple of more Legos off. I knew that my 4x6 photo was going to cover up 2 of the Legos. And so cutting, I think there's 3 of them that I cut off. That will allow me to use them as embellishments on page 1 and kind of bring over the Lego theme onto page 1 as well. So I did want to bring in yet another one of those colors, I guess incorporate another one of the colors that I had backed the cut file with. And so I did double back the large photo there, and that is that deep blue color that I did with the Legos, and decided to do the single photo kind of on the far side as well. Again, just to bring in more colors and almost make the layout more cohesive, I guess, and not make those Legos kind of stick out. So the smaller photos are going to kind of just be stacked down the middle, right on top of each other. I did separate on purpose the top and the bottom ones because they both had red, and then the middle one was just kind of more neutral. And so I did want to separate the red on those middle photos. So there was kind of a strategic placement with those. And then I committed to the single photo on the right-hand side, and then this larger photo, which I did pop up on some foam tape. And then we're going to head over to page 1 and kind of do the photo placements there. So I went ahead and backed both those photos for page 1 with white. You can see that I did print off cut out another smaller Lego wreath. Thought maybe I would use that as embellishments on page 1, but in cutting off those 3 larger pieces that were going to be covered up, that allowed me enough that I didn't need to use that smaller Lego wreath. This here, I thought maybe I would fussy cut one of those scallops out. That is the vellum paper from the collection. I decided against it though, and decided to kind of go see what I wanted to do for embellishing. This is kind of where sketching it out helps up until this point, and then I really have to figure out where and what to use for embellishing. There are some instances when I sketch that I have a good idea of where the clusters will be, but not really what is going to be included in the clusters. So I found this piece of ephemera that I figured was a great title, Love Days Like This. This was at the Lego store at Disney Springs. My mom, sister, and I spent a day there a couple of Decembers ago, walking around, and my youngest loves Lego, so of course I took photos with and of so many of the amazing Lego creations. So that's kind of the gist of the photos here. I was going to layer the Legos down below, but I didn't love the way that they looked behind my title there. So instead, I added them to the top. And because they were in a wreath, there are a couple of imperfections on each of them. So I did kind of have to be strategic in where I placed them to cover up those imperfections a little bit. It worked out. I like the way that they end up being layered at the top. So not a big deal, but just something I had to keep in mind. Going through the embellishment pack, I kind of go through anymore and kind of pick out pieces and place them where I think I might like them, and kind of play around with them. I do like the tab on page 2. The banner on page 1, though, don't like how that looks over there. I did play around with this as well. But quite honestly, I can't figure out what is supposed to... It's like a paperclip almost, and I can't figure out what is supposed to be on top of the photo and what's supposed to be underneath. I guess I could have it all underneath and just kind of have the saying pop out. I already had that star fussy cut. Didn't love the way that that looked, though. So I did end up taking that off, and I decided to take a kind of unexpected twist maybe for this layout. I went with florals. Yes, they have nothing to do with Legos, but this collection has absolutely beautiful floral pieces, and so I went with it. I went with Legos and florals. And love the outcome. So yeah, no rhyme or reason except that these florals are beautiful. So you can see kind of where I am placing the floral clusters. I love how the Legos look with the florals on page 1, adding some florals to the top of page 2, and then kind of that bottom right of page 2 as well. Again, so many different fun colors. There's greenery, there's leaves. I really had a lot of fun with this layout, and it's because I think of the florals. It's not, I'm such a themed scrapbooker that adding florals to a Lego layout is kind of odd to me. It might not be odd for anybody else, but I had a lot of fun with it. And I think that's important when you scrapbook, is to kind of find that enjoyment. Sometimes I think it can be a tedious task, not always enjoyable, I guess, especially if I have found that when I am strapped for time and trying to create for my YouTube channel, I sometimes feel like it's more of a job than a hobby. So this layout in particular and using those florals just felt like a hobby again, and it was just such a good feeling. So I did decide to add some sayings. There was a magical sticker, and it's Disney Springs, and it's Legos, and the creations were just magical. So I thought that was appropriate. Did decide to then add another cluster to the bottom right of page 1. A lot of times if I do a layout kind of across the page, I find I tend to kind of do my embellishing like top, bottom, top, bottom. So you can kind of see that with this layout. The title is on the bottom as well, but if you start at the top left, you have the top left, bottom right, top left, bottom right again. And that's kind of, I've found that like I said, when I do layouts going across the page, that's one way that I embellish quite often. Did add another phrase to the top left cluster that says cool, kind of looking for another one to include in the top left of page 2 as well. Just love this collection. I think it might be older than I think. So I think the Where To Next collection came out after this, and the Discover and the Create. So I have quite a bit of this left. I need to dig into it again because, like I said, these florals were very inspiring for this layout. And now that I'm looking at it, I have two embellishment packs, the florals. I might have to do an Easter layout and challenge myself using this collection for an Easter layout. The colors, I think, would match my pictures perfectly. So thanks for being there for that aha moment. Just scattered some puffy hearts and the gold dots that are on her chipboard and her puffy sticker sheets. Just scattered those throughout the clusters to finish those out. But I hope you guys enjoyed this layout. I will link this collection down below because once again, I have fallen back in love with it and want to share it with you guys. So that will be linked down below. But I hope you enjoyed and we will see you next time. Bye guys.